Yeah, we came across various organizations like we have the OCC, then we have studied about the NIST, DMTF. Okay, just we have a brief overview. Let me share the slide and then we'll start today's class, the cloud governance. Okay, just wait. So just a brief revision. So yesterday we studied about the standards and groups associated with the cloud computing, where we studied about this Cloud Security Alliance, which is basically related to give the security assurance to the in cloud computing that like software is for understanding the security. Okay, and also we have studied this DMTF, that is the Distributed Management Task Force. So I told you that you don't have to like understand here anything. Just these are the names of some organizations. Okay, then we have the National Institute of Standards and Technology. We have the Open Cloud Consortium, also known as the OCC. We have Open Grid Forum, Object Management Group, Storage Networking Industry Associations, Cloud Computing Interoperability Forum, and we also studied about the IT governance. So I told you that IT governance subject already you have studied the subject. So we know that, and we also studied what does the IT governance do, and also we discussed about the cloud governance. So cloud governance, we also seen the cloud governance like advantages. Now today we'll see why this cloud governance is important. Okay, what is the need for this cloud governance? Okay, so before that, let us just have a revision of the cloud governance. So basically, cloud governance is nothing but a set of policies or like procedures to govern something, to manage the organization. As you know that the large part of the organization is moving to the cloud. Now people are moving to the cloud. So for that purpose, governance of the activities in the clouds are also very important. Now, what are these needs for cloud governance? So we have these five uses are there. So first is the security and privacy risk. So basically, this happens when due to the unauthorized like downloads or installation which you do into the software, or like storage of any illegal data, or if you are accessing some sites which are restricted, right? So I think torrent was restricted, I don't know now. So that things that you should not be uh, like that is why cloud governance is going on, right? In our when we were in college, okay, what happened is that every students were, so that's because you know how students are, you people must be doing it yourself. When you have free wi-fi, so like we have the uh, habit of installing anything, downloading anything into the college PC or in our own system, as open some kinds of websites which are restricted. We should not open it. Just I give you an example of the torrent website which was restricted, right? So, and who is paying the bill? We are getting the Wi-Fi for free because we are paying the fees. We have paid the fees for the using the Wi-Fi. But what about the organization? The organization is paying the bill for everything. So they need to keep a watch. They need to have a governance, like how the students are using it. Who will go to their students' home or their hostels to check, right, what the student is doing in the computer? So they did is that they created IDs for each student. Okay, so they created login ID for students, for teachers, so that anyone with having the login ID, they can only use the free Wi-Fi. In that case, what happens that obviously other users cannot use it. Your log and until and unless you give your login ID to someone, um, then only the other person can use it, otherwise they cannot use it. So unauthorized access is not there. Also, if you are if you are browsing through some restricted sites, or you are downloading some such software which are harmful, people will the team will be aware, okay, which student have done that by going to the uh, this one login ID. Okay, so that is the need for one of the need for the cloud governance. Next is the vendor lock-in. So, okay, so what do you mean by this vendor lock-in? So as this, many vendors will like opt for this one, like they will add a clause in their SLA, that is the service level agreement, that you cannot go to the like for any small service you cannot opt for some other cloud service provider. You need cloud service provider, so you have to find the, you have to work with this particular vendor only. Okay, so that is that when we were studying in module 3 the selecting the cloud service provider, we have studied that we should make sure that because the agreement, the service level agreements are quite biased, right? So what is does this in the service level agreement, if the vendor mentions, if you don't read the terms and conditions of the agreements, you don't read it properly, so what happens is you get fooled, so you cannot change for like you cannot use other vendor, you have to use that particular vendor only. Okay, so next is cloud sprawl. So what happens is now when in an organization, okay, so like when people apart from the IT team, apart from the IT department, there are like various departments in the organization, whether it's the HR department or the other I'm not sure about like we have storage department. So apart from the IT team, there are very other departments are there, right? So if they are not using the cloud infrastructure provided by their organization and they use the normal like cloud infrastructure for storing, suppose we are using the Google Drive or we are using Dropbox, so what happens is that employees generally use this kind of uh, softwares or soft cloud infrastructure because they are free, right? Even we people tend to use those kind of things, but in an organization what happens if you're like if your organization have their own cloud and you are not using that, then it may be. Yes, Bhargav? Okay, probably by mistake. Okay, so if it is not detected, so if you are because for this purpose, approvals from the organization are not required because we are going for the free one. We are going for Gmail, Google Drive, or you have Gmail, so you don't need permission. So what happens is it may be possible that you have this redundant data, then inefficient or it's unmanageable. But if you are putting, so it is like recommended if you are in an organization, you use that particular infrastructure only. Okay, so if, even like in an organization mail also, what we do, you can just being an iNurture, we are from iNurture, right? So what happens is that have been provided with an official mail also that starts we do not use the Gmail in that case. We are using the iNurture. So whatever works we do, it's going to save in that iNurture only. And after we resign like our email ID will be closed, our account will be closed, and that is how the data is saved. But if we store somewhere else like Gmail and later in other organization, then it can be the data will be uh, with us, so it will be much more redundant. Even like if you think also, why do we like want to put the official things in our personal mail drive, right? Why to like we have only some particular MB, I think 15 MB of storage. So why should we waste? Sorry, 15 GB, I guess. I'm not sure about it. So I forgot that one. So why should we waste it, right? Next, if you are not able to detect, if you're not able to detect the users, the people are using in their Gmail drive, because IT team will obviously the IT department they will use the cloud infrastructure of the organization. But talking about the other departments, so what happens is that this sprawl may lead to like fragmented or any inefficient or redundant uh, cloud programs. Okay, so unnecessary headache. Okay, next we have the shadow IT and unwarranted usage of cloud resources. So what does this mean? Basically it happens like when employees in various departments, they do not follow the rules and regulations imposed by the IT department. Okay, because some regulations are there, so if we don't follow follow the rules and regulations, then it will be, as I get, it will be very redundant also, and it will be inefficient. So that is why that we should make sure that no data has been breached or policies are being breached, no rules are being broken. So we should make sure that this shadow IT and unwarranted asset usage of cloud resources, we go for this cloud governance, because cloud governance helps in this one. And the last is one, lack of data portability and interoperability. Now, when does this happen? Lack of data portability and interoperability is that when the cloud service provider is incapable of connecting well with other software and products outside the organization. Okay, so this may also lead to the modules not compatible with each other, and hence chaos will be there due to the inefficient system. If there is no like communication with the other third party, so obviously chaos will be there, right? So this is the need for some of the needs for cloud governance. Okay, so you can write on your own also, like it's not mandatory you have to mention this point only. So I got this points from your packing materials. Okay, so found this, so I just discussed with you guys. So any confusion till this point part? Yes. Sleeping. Theory class sleeping. Yes, wake up.
Hello, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So any confusion?
Sleeping, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Or tired?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, next. Let me move forward then. So this is how a cloud governance looks in an enterprise. Okay, so you can see there are just wait. Yeah, there are this cloud enterprise governance have this access controls, financial controls, API integration, logging and auditing, and also key management and encryption. So let's think of the access control. So access control. So we have discussed earlier also. So what do you think the access control means in the cloud enterprise cloud governance? Enterprise cloud governance means in an organization how it runs, right? So what is the access controls? What do you think is the access control? Access control or control in access? Tell me. Write in the chat if your like voice is not working. Let's wake up. I'll discuss obviously.
Ma'am, access control means who can access which part.
Yes.
I mean, what
Yes. You are
to
correct.
access and who
Yes.
can.
Yes. So as we told, like yesterday also, I was telling you that in an organization, it may be possible that there are 2 lakhs employees, not 2 lakhs, many lakhs of employees, or there will be thousands of employees. So what happens in that case? Your data may not be safe. Okay. So like that is why what we do is that if we give access permissions, like for any cloud application or for anything, so what happens? We exactly know who has the access for what. So in that case, this is known your data will remain safe within few people, and whatever happens, you know who has done it, right? But otherwise, it won't be able to track it. If it like if you have 10,000 employees in a organization, in your organization you have 10,000 employees. Okay, though we say this if your organization has 10,000 employees, we will say this is a small organization only, right? In terms of the IT companies, I'm saying, okay, because the companies like you take of this IBM and everyone, they have probably in lakhs. The employees are in lakhs. So if we think of a company which has 10,000 employees, it's a very small organization. So what happens is, so it is still if you have 10,000 employees in an organization, you if like you are giving permission, like everyone can do anything they want in the cloud. In that case, also you won't be able to track like who have tampered the information in the cloud, like who had tried to modify it. For that case, we have the Even in our organization, so we are around, I think, 200 faculties, or probably it's like in our organization we may be having like around 500 people of employees or something. I'm not sure about it, but the thing is that we also, like, we are having this ERP system, right? So every, like, we have different permissions for users, right? Being students, you have different permissions. Being teachers, faculties, we have different permissions. But apart from that one also, so we have the IT department where super admins are there. Admins, like, they have the permission for everything, right? So they can rather edit, if we have done, any faculties have done any mistake, they can change, modify that one also. If the students have committed any mistake, they can, like, modify anything. So that is the permissions. You have differentiate the permission, so who can access what. So in generally, in any kind of software you create also, because after 1 year, like after, yeah, almost 1 year only, so you will be going for your major project, right? Because you have your major project only in 8th sem. So what happens is that if you develop any web-based application, so in web-based application, what you do, you need to think about, like, who has the access for, who are the users and who has the access for anything. So suppose you are developing a student management system. So in the student management system, you will be having the users as a student, you will be having the users as the faculty, and we will also be having the like one more user, that is the admin. Students have the, like you people have the uh, you people have the like permission for accessing the notes, okay, viewing the notes, and also you can appear for the examination or upload assignment. And similarly, faculties have the permission for uploading the assignment, uploading the notes, uploading the questions, right, and uploading the attendance. But we, like, our permissions are separate, our accesses are different. Okay, whatever the things we have access on, you people don't have, the students don't have the access to that. And similarly, what you people have access, we can't have that access to, like, we cannot update your feedback, right? But one person is there, or like the one team is there, you can think our IT team is there, who have the access for all. So you can think your Ankur sir have the access for it. That is, the IT team has the access for everything. So this is, if you have the access control, so we know, we can keep track of the, like, whatever is happening in your organizations, right? Next is the financial controls. So this is very important. Like, if you implement the financial controls, it will help the organizations. Like, if you are having lot of teams and cloud-based projects running in parallel. Okay, so obviously in an organization, various cloud projects will run in parallel. Okay, so it's not that single project. Since you, if we are doing a project, or it's a small startup project, startup company, so then it's okay that only people are working on a single project every time. But think of the big organizations. So think of Amazon, think of Flipkart, think of this IBM. They don't work at single projects. They don't work on single projects simultaneously, right? They work on, like, various projects. They take up various projects, and they separate into various teams. So now the finance team, what they do is that they allocate they allocate funds for each of these projects. So each of these cloud-based projects on the scope and the requirements. So what are the, like, if you have a small project, how much funds should be allocated to that project, and what is the importance, and what are the requirements, based on that funds will be allocated. I think you people have studied the COCOMO model in software engineering, so you are aware that how the budget is estimated, right? Then again, we have like the cloud-based application which have high requirements, obviously, like and software, if they have high requirements, obviously more budgets needs to be allocated to them. So that is how done in the financial control. So obviously, if we like, it's a good management if you like. So that is also governed by the enterprise cloud governance. Okay, the rules and policies. Okay, so that is done by the cloud governance. Next is the API integration. Now, what does this API full stand for? Can you tell me the full form, the API? Anyone can tell me the full form of an API? What is API? I think I remembered, I told once in your class. in fourth sem. Long back, once upon a time.
Application programming interface.
Yes, application program interface. Good, Dipesh. So what happens in this? In API integration becomes important when the this cloud-based infrastructure is to be shared with the other applications. Okay, that is developed by the third-party developers outside the organization. So we know that this API integration is very important. So because in API integration, it will help in sharing the infrastructure, right? So in very that is why we should make sure, because if we are sharing with a third party organization, so we should make sure that all the policies are to be communicated while the uh, API is shared with the public. So strict regulations have to be implemented to provide the restricted access to the outsiders. Okay, so because API integration is dealing with the third party, so we should make sure that all the policies are covered, and that and because it is public to the organization, right? So we should make sure about it. Next is the logging and auditing. So whatever activities, whatever activities we are doing across the private public clouds, so all the things have to be uh, like all the things you can think, what are the activities you can do in the clouds? You can you can change the code or change in the database, or you are modifying anything. So everything need to be tracked and logged. So these log files, where you are putting it in the log files, right? So now these log files are audited regularly, maybe on a monthly basis, or maybe on a yearly basis. So if there is any discrepancies, like if you find any fault with the auditing and in the logging also, then this needs to be reviewed in this case. Okay. So last one is the key management and encryption. So what is this key management and encryption? So basically, few corporations have achieved excellence in implementing cloud governance across their geographies. Okay, so one of the unique security architecture found is to is a separation of roles, sophisticated. So you have the key management. You can see of the primary keys also, like how do you encrypt it using the AES, DES. All these things are done. If you when you send the keys, so it will be helpful. So you do not necessarily run on the it may not be necessarily run on the same servers, but actual applications are there, and hence where you have no access to the confidentiality of data. So this makes it, so since encryption is there, so you have the confidentiality. Okay, so when you have the public key, private key, you have studied network security, cryptography, right? So you people are aware of it. So this was about the cloud governance in enterprise. First, we have the access control, financial controls, API integration, logging and auditing, and last one is the key management. Okay, any confusion? Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, what is auditing?
So auditing is basically, every organization in normal case also, they need to review your software, like whatever work you do, right? So it is documented. Okay, that one team will be there that will review it. Okay, whether you have done it correctly or not, or if there is any fault, so they will try to rectify what is their fault. So this is basically done in every organization annually. Okay, so you think this UGC people come, this NAC people come to your organization, they come and check what? They check the documents only. They go for auditing. Okay, so that word, that reviewing is known as the auditing. Is it clear, Krishna? Yes, Krishna, is it clear? Okay. So next we have the cloud governance activity. So these are the few activities we have. So first is the cloud strategy and planning, architecture, design and deployment of cloud, cloud acquisition and contracting, provisioning and management of resources, contingency planning and provider management. Now let's see what are the activities. So I have this chart you can see what are the activities that falls under this dimensions. So if you see that cloud strategy and planning, you have the activities as the planning of the obviously the planning of the cloud strategy, defining the cloud business case, then launch the cloud pilot program, and based on the result say go or no. That is you whenever we have a software project also, we after we have done, I hope you remember the SDLC process, software development life cycle. So in the SDLC, if we go, there are various phases are there, right? Like the requirement gathering, then we have the feasibility study, then only we go for system design and other things. So what happens in that part also, in planning phase, that is in the requirement gathering phase, once we like heard the requirement, we have made the requirement gatherings, all the requirements are gathered, then what we do, we go for the feasibility study, whether it will be like feasible for us to develop or not. So in this feasibility study, we think like we should take up the project or not. So here also in the planning, same thing, after all the like your business cases or requirements are gathered, we go for like deciding whether we should go for the cloud program or not. If yes, then we move to the next one, that is the architecture design. Similarly, if the feasibility in software thing, in software design, if we the feasibility study is correct, if it is like okay, yes, we can go for it, then only we move to the system design part. Here also, if your cloud strategy and planning is like okay, so you can move to the next second phase, that is the architecture design and deployment of the cloud. So what happens here is like you what are the activities are there, so you determine the cloud architecture and standards, okay, then the cloud solution design is drawn, then the cloud security model is determined based on organization needs and the data used, then next is the cloud integration is planned, and then we have the quality assurance and testing is performed. Since it is still deployment of cloud, so before deployment we have to obviously, because we know in software also we develop the product in modules, in unit wise, right? We work on that and later we integrate and we test whether it is working properly or not, and if everything is working properly, then we'll go for system testing also, right? That is if the entire system is working properly. So here also same thing, you after you are like okay with the planning, then you decide that you will go for the you will go for the program, so then you develop the architecture. Okay, so various cloud architecture you have seen. Okay, we have seen one of the cloud architecture how it looks, so you decide on that and then you design your diagram. So after that you like determine the organization's needs and what are the data should be used, and then you go for integration, then testing is done, and next is cloud acquisition and contracting. So here what are the activities are there, you can see the cloud solution is chosen and the cloud vendor expertise in that particular area is picked, cloud contracts are drawn, the terms and conditions of the SLA are scrutinized, then QoS is determined, there is a quality of service, okay. Okay, then cloud deployment or cloud onboarding, then cloud access and usage of terms are defined. So here all this cloud acquisition and contracting, what are the contract process with the third party, so is thought here. Okay, so next is the provisioning and management of resources. So under this you have the activities like once the cloud operations begin, capacity planning for the resources must follow quickly, then provisioning of resources, billing and metering activities, overall monitoring of the cloud performance. So cloud is supported through relevant changes in operation, maintenance and sustenance activities are performed. So these are the activities in the provisioning and management of resources. And last one in the is a contingency planning and provider management. So here you decide the cloud contingency planning, cloud bursting, switching the cloud provider, migrating high cloud risk from public to private, offboarding the cloud. So these are some of the activities on the contingency. Yes, so just you should know what are the activities are involved. So all the things, see, ultimately you are studying the cloud environment of the software engineering. So ultimately you will feel same thing only, but the software is the on-premise thing, and you are putting that things in the cloud. That's the cloud computing, right? So any confusion till now in today's class? Yes. Any confusion? Okay. So what I'll do, I'll continue with this one tomorrow, or like should I take the revision? What do you want? Tomorrow can I have a revision of module 2?
Yes, ma'am. Revision.
Revision, okay. Then please study also for revision, okay? Okay, just wait. Let me take the attendance. Okay, thank you everyone. So you all can leave now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.